Hello everybody and welcome to episode 2 of the F122 My Team career mode, and you can see there Cal Racing bang in the middle of the team performance charts, but we're heading in to the first Grand Prix of the season in Bahrain, sunny Bahrain for the Gulf Air Grand Prix in this one, and it's going to be an interesting test of our car, our driving abilities, the level of the game, if we've got the right sort of level. Who knows what's going to happen in this one. I'm very excited though. You're going to see a little bit of the practice session and a little bit of qualifying as well before getting into the race. This is in the background our race engineer just saying thanks for having us on the team. It's all really good. We're happy to have you, mate. Cheers. Especially the guy with the little cooling jets cooling us down. So we're going to dive in to a qualifying pace sort of race setup and see how we're doing against our rivals. And it's some interesting outcomes that turn from here, turn up, and they're going to be even more interesting as we actually get into qualifying. But yeah, we're going to start with the qualifying sim, see how we get on, and we'll talk you through this lap as it sort of unfolds really. And the first thing to say is that our car is pretty rubbish through the lower speed corners. High speed corners, we appear to be pretty damn good, to be honest. And as you can see, the qualifying race actually does pretty well. We're getting a green time. We finish it in green, not quite optimal, but it's predicting us to be around about 11th position in terms of qualification, which is good. Then we get to this. At the end of practice 1, we're the fastest team on the grid, apparently. A 1:37.252, not too bad at all. But yeah, I expect the AI to improve on that. And They do as we go down, but we scroll into Enzo Fittipaldi. There he is, a 1:40, not brilliant. But we go to the end of that practice session, we get our resource points in, we get our acclaim, we get our development boosts, and this is actually the end of all the practices. I did practice 1, 2 and 3, didn't need to show you those, just thought we'd show you that quick lap where we did the qualifying sim and I was apparently the fastest car on the track. But yes, we unlock quite a lot of different discounts in terms of doing and ticking off different things throughout the practice sessions, so it allows us to get a little bit cheaper in terms of development opportunities for the car, which is good. We just got to make sure we're keeping earning the resource points. Our acclaim goes up to 6 as well, which is really helpful, as that gets a few more sponsors unlocked and bring a bit more money in and stuff like that. So we are getting there in terms of the team, and yeah, it's not too bad. Now we dive in to qualifying for the Bahrain Grand Prix, and this is where it gets really interesting, because this is where the AI should be performing their best, right? You can see all of our mechanics frantically trying to sort out the tyres. But yeah, we're predicted to be around about 10th, 11th. That's what we had to aim in the qualifying sim. The qualifying sim was actually, if we got 14th, we got green and say we passed. If we got 8th and above, we got optimal. So we got, what was it? I think predicted 11th, and therefore we passed it. But as we come out now, you'll see me flicking through all the MDF things in the options, and we come out right behind Lando Norris. So we ease off just to allow Norris to sort of get ahead, and we're going to put a bit of space between us so that we're not going right into the back of him. As you can see, we go a bit slow through these first 2 corners, and then I realise eventually that I'm looking at the wrong thing in terms of the MDF. This is tyre wear in the bottom right. What we need to look at is tyre temperature. And as we zoom in on it just there, you can see it's light blue, very cold tyres. Brakes aren't quite up to temperature yet either. So we do the first driving out lap, a bit of weaving, get some temperature into the tyres so that when we start our fast lap, our qualifying lap, which is just coming up now, we are at optimum temperature, as you can see in the bottom right. Everything green, everything looking good, and we are flying down the pit straight, trying to unlock a very good qualifying lap. As we come down, there's a car coming out. It's Perez, but he's going to let us pass. We go into the first corner. It's a little bit slow, but it's not too bad. We take it at a pretty optimal speed. We turn into the S-bends, round them, down the pit straight with the first little bit of DRS, and we're flying down here looking for around about 75-metre braking point. We get on the brakes, overheat them a little bit, but turn around nicely into the corner. Coming down these few corners I love here. Again, it's another sort of S-bend onto the left. Turn right, down into 4th gear, ease off the accelerator, into 5th. Get the pedal down as much as you can as you come into a really tight right-hander, which again, we take reasonably well. And as we come down now, you're going to have a big banking left turn into the really sharp turn at the hairpin as we come down 4th, 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. Turn it in, and then we put a little bit of throttle first, straight up to 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Into the second DRS zone, where we're going to try and get a bit of extra speed up to 8th gear. And these corners coming up, these high-speed corners, we can take them really well in our car with our aerodynamics, how it is. And the 5th, 6th gear, 7th gear, round the corner, ease off a little bit, back on the pedal. And we get round onto the right-hand turn. Again, this corner, we take it really, really well in this car. And we fly down this little bit of a straight. As you see, Sainz laps the fastest at the moment. And we're up into 8th gear. We've got a right-hander coming up, and then it's just a sprint to the line. And we take it, again, a little bit slower, too much of the curb. As we come down 5th, 6th, 7th, hit that DRS line, open the rear wing, and get to the finish line. And we are second fastest at the moment behind Carlos Sainz. But lots of cars still to go. And as you can see, we come back into the pits. We get 5th position for the time being. And as we accelerate through the time, I sort of feel like I think we're safe. So I don't go out again, and we just let it play through. And Enzo Fittipaldi, they're down in 17th, looking like he's going to miss out on Q2. But we look like we are flying into Q2. And there you go, 9th position is where we finish in Q1 to get us out into Q2. But Fittipaldi doesn't quite make it. A 138 for him, a 137.1 for us. We get in to Q2, which is where it gets a bit interesting. And as our race mechanic, head mechanic, engineer waves us out, we have actually put a lot of space between us and the cars in front, which means as we just come down the final straight of our warm-up lap, we've got everything to the temperature we need it to. We didn't have to really back off. We did a bit of weaving to get tyre temperature up. We take this corner nice and slow, a bit too much curb, but we put it in a position where we can just launch down this start-finish straight. And as we start our flying lap, you can see on the right-hand side, everything is completely up to temperature. And we are going for this. We're giving it the beans in Q2. Try and get into Q3 in our first ever race as a Formula 1 team. And we actually take this first corner pretty well. The slow corners, we've just got to work on them. They'll come out in the race. I'm sure that's where we'll be caught by opposition teams. But as we fly down the first DRS zone, we try and position our car nicely to take the right-hander so that we can just hit the apex and then get on the beans as soon as possible. And that is what we do. We come down into the S-bends, which, again, I love these corners that we can do here at slightly higher speeds. The car just feels really nice as the air flows around it as we come into the slow right-hander, turning the car around, getting down on the pedal as much as we can, trying to avoid the lack of traction from the rears as we actually take the corner a bit too wide on the hairpin, and it's going to slow us down as we get into that DRS zone. But we know that we can make some time up as we fly through the high-speed corners that are coming up as we find our braking zone down into 4th, around the left-hander, back on the power from 3rd to 4th to 5th to 6th to 7th as you hit this apex. And then you just keep it turning, keep the car rotating through all these right-hand bends, line it up down this straight as we take that reasonably well. And we are flying at this point down this straight, up to 8th gear as soon as we possibly can. We're dumping all the battery on this fast lap in qualifying as time starts to drop in. Bottas on a 137.6 as we come down to cross the line in 8th gear with the DRS flap open into first position with a 135.5, which is absolutely insane if you think that we go top of the leaderboard. And once again, I feel like we don't need to go and do a second lap on this team. 135.5 sees us into Q3 as the fastest team at the Bahrain Grand Prix so far. But Charles Leclerc 135 as well. And now we're into Q3. We do this, we don't match our time from Q2, but we do finish 5th in qualifying in Q3. We didn't match the 135.5 that we did in Q2, but we do a 136.7, which is good enough to put us in 5th. If we match that 135.5, we would have been up into top spot in pole position. So I sort of feel like that means we need to up the difficulty a little bit as we go into the next race, Grand Prix in Jeddah. But for this one, we can't change it, so we're going to head into the Bahrainian Grand Prix, starting from 5th alongside George Russell and fellow Brit. And yeah, Fittipaldi's got a lot of work to do, starting from basically at the back of the grid. But that gives us a little bit more acclaim as we've qualified pretty well. The boost goes up a little bit to about halfway through number 6. And yeah, let's get into the Grand Prix.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round one of this year's Formula One World Championship. We go racing today around the 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit with 15 corners and 2 good passing opportunities into turns 1 and 4. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left tyre into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. It's Carlos Sainz in pole position and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, Elvis and Russell, Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Bottas and Lando Norris, Mick Schumacher, Magnussen, Esteban Ocon and Tsunoda, Vettel, Joe, Pierre Gasly and Lance Stroll, Fittipaldi, Albon, Ricciardo and Nicholas Latifi. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. A new season then, a clean slate where anything can happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as once again we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice. They've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
The formation lap gets underway and every driver will be looking to settle in for the race ahead, making sure that their car is ready for the battle once the lights go out. So as all the cars take their positions on the grid, the teams will be hoping their strategies pay off for them in today's race. The question I'm asking is which teams have got it right, which ones have got it horribly wrong?
So as we get ready for 5 red lights, are we one of those teams that have got it spot on? It's really being held for a long time and we get a pretty poor getaway. Starting in 5th, we already lose a space to Russell, who comes up, and we've got another one coming down our right hand side, which is Leclerc. We're checking our tyre temperatures straight off because we lost a lot of traction as Verstappen has locked up in front of us. And now we're going through on this right hand side. We've got Alonso fighting us for a position. We have to cut across the grass. We lose out a bit of pace, and Bottas, we managed to hold him off, getting some good traction out of that corner, but we've dropped from 5th to 8th from the grid, and now we're going in a bit too much. We lock up a little bit on the right hand side, and Bottas, we just about hold him off again. We're chasing down that Alpine of Alonso, but yeah, dropping down from 5th to 7th, not a good start. We need to try and make that back if we can. We come through into the slow right hander again. Alonso with a little bit of better turning than us in those slow corners, but we're managing to keep pace. We just need to sort of not mess up this hairpin. We can't afford to lose space there as Alonso locks up and we bump into the back of him. No damage, it seems, for either of us. But Alonso, we see in the first bit of AI mistakes in the game already. And Alonso not taking that corner well, and he's not taking this corner well. Too much to the curb means he couldn't put the pedal down, and we're going to take him on the inside. Hold down that pedal as we know we can going through these high speed corners. And we're back up into 7th now, chasing down George Russell and the people that are in front of him, the likes of Leclerc, Verstappen, Perez, all up there. Can we make it stick as we're just leaving Alonso now? Those corners, we can take them so much quicker than some of the AI teams, purely because of the aerodynamics and the downforce that we create. And there we go, into 7th position. So we've dropped 2 positions in the first lap, which isn't ideal. But now we've got the challenge of chasing down George Russell up in 6th, seeing what we can do. We close up to him quite nicely in those corners. He's being held up, but we jump to lap number 3, still trying to chase down George Russell in 6th. We haven't been able to close the gap too much more than we had before. We put a good 3 seconds between us and Alonso in 8th though. But half a second between us and Russell. We're closing the gap now. We're going to go for a move. We're just dumping the battery as much as we can to get all that power. And it looks like we're going to make it stick. And then we get into the corner and it's a lock-up. We've got hard on the brakes and Russell gets the position back. And it's turning into a mammoth battle between us and George Russell as we dump the battery to try and keep up with his DRS. Not do much more than that. We're trying to get into the slipstream, but we can't quite make it work. And yeah, we're right behind Russell coming in again to the corner here. We try to fling, we lock up our front left, and again Russell can keep that position just in front of us. We come around the S-bends, we've got the inside line, but Russell is going to just get past us. We open up the DRS, he's forcing us wide, squeezing us off the track. And we're not going to make it stick, although we do get past too deep into the corner again. We can see it there, Russell just keeping ahead of us as we went too deep, too excited into that corner to try and make the position stick. It means we had to get later on the brakes. We went wide and deep into the corner. We couldn't get that position back. And again, this battle just keeps on going between us and Russell as we carry on lap 4. 14 laps in total to do, 10 more after this one. As then we go wide and deep, and that's going to give Russell the time and space he needs to get away. And we're very lucky that we were in the DRS zone, so we do get DRS to try and keep up with him, but that's added in a whole second more gap between us and Russell as we go into these high-speed left-hand rights. And then lap 6, we're still battling with Russell. We're still trying to reel him in, and again, these high-speed corners, we can take them slightly better than George Russell does, but he's got the traction, unlike Alonso in the lap 1. Russell has the traction to actually get away from us and put his foot down and keep it alive. But we take this corner so well that we're right on his gearbox as we come out of it. But he just dumps his battery. We try and dump our battery to try and keep up with him. We're trying to just tow him in. We tried to go for a dive bomb again. This time, feel better than last time in terms of brake. And we just allow George Russell to keep the racing line. Don't force him off, and we use that opportunity to come into the pits. Well, we're just going to see if the undercut works a little bit. We've brought our pit stop forward by 1 lap. And so it's Russell we're battling against. That's who we've got to remember. We're coming into the pits. The pit team are hopefully going to do a good job. We're going on to the medium tyres. No damage on the front wing to cover about, even though we had that little incident with Alonso. But it's a decent stop, 2.9 seconds. And you can see their estimated tyre life. These mediums will get us to the end of the Grand Prix. And we're coming out of the pits in 12th position. And we need to get temperature in these tyres. Having a little lock up on the left straight away, front left. But once again, the temperature in the tyres is so low that you just can't fling it into corners straight away. But the open air, the gaps, allow us to get our positions back as the other teams come into pit. But the under strategy didn't work. And George Russell pitted and came out in front of us. But we have closed the gap to about 1.1 seconds. And we just need to make that stick. And lap 8 is what we're on now as we're trying to close the gap on George Russell yet again. Us and the Mercedes are having quite a battle. Us and fellow Brit George Russell are battling around the Bahrain circuit as we come in. We take this apex so well. Straight away again, down on the power as soon as we can. Dump the battery to try and keep up with Russell. Try and make that position stick if we can this time. We're coming down. We don't fancy the dive bomb on lap 8. Lap 9, we come round that corner again. We're much closer to him this time. We're going to get DRS down the home straight. Up into 8th gear, dump the battery, open the DRS, get in the slipstream, move to the left. Russell trying to squeeze us off the track. We're coming down. Can we get the braking point right? We do, but Russell is later on the brakes, keeps the position in front of us in 5th. And he is absolutely battling his little balls off to try and keep us behind him. And we're coming in again. We've got DRS again. We've dumped the battery again, and we can't quite get in the position we need to just make one of these overtakes stick on George Russell. Coming into these S-bends that we know we can take at slightly higher speeds. We can see we close up on the right-hander. We're coming down into the left-hander. We actually had a bit of a jittery back end and nearly lose it. Just keep it together. Russell takes the tight right-hander. We get a really good exit from it. And we know we've just got to keep it together in the tight left hairpin to give us an opportunity with DRS to finally get past George Russell. We both take the corner quite well. Russell still going, both of us on the medium tyres, and we're within a second. We do try and push it. You can see our back left having 11% of where it's getting worn the most, but we come round this corner. We're too far away to make our move on the really fast little corners here. and we catch Russell coming to the top of this bend. Can we hit this apex and get a good exit from it? Yes, we can. It's a great little corner. We are right behind George Russell. We're dumping the battery that we've been charging for this whole lap, and as we come down this corner over the crest of the hill, we're trying to make this one stick. We've got the inside track, and we're coming through, and again, we've just gone a little bit too deep. Russell cuts across us, keeps the position, and George Russell, it's an epic battle now down the home straight. We've got the DRS. Surely this is the opportunity to make this move and make it stick, and we do, with plenty of time to get the brakes on as well into this tight right-hander. We've had a few issues with it before, but this time we actually park our car in the middle of the corner, meaning that even if we take it slow, George Russell can't really get past us. And now it's a case of getting our foot down and seeing if we can hold him off, dump whatever battery we've got left on this little bit of straight so that we can just hold him off as he has the DRS, and we take the corner reasonably well. We're turning around now into the S-bends here. Can we put a bit of time and space between us and George Russell, because he's going to want that position back? We turn not as good as we normally do through those corners. The tight right-hander coming up. We take it pretty well. Hit a bit too much curb on the exit, which means we're a bit gentler on the power. But we're 5 seconds off Perez. He's out of sight for us. We're never going to catch him. But it's between us and George Russell now. As we come into the DRS zone, George Russell is going to have DRS, but looked like he locked up on that corner and couldn't quite catch us. And now we're going into the good corners that we like here. I love these corners. I keep banging on about it, but the pace that we can take through these corners compared to that Mercedes is absolutely wonderful. And you can see we're putting nearly a second of a gap between us. That during sector 1, we know Russell's going to have the advantage of us, but 1.1 seconds is the difference as we're on lap 11 of 14. Are we just putting enough space now between us and that Mercedes that George Russell is driving? We take this corner a little bit slow. He gets back within a second, so he's going to have DRS as we get into this home straight. But we're just about to start lap 12, and we have a bit of a gap. We just need to make it stick. We are struggling for tyre wear, but so will George Russell. We've gone one more lap than George Russell on these tyres, but we just need to make it stick. And these slow corners are where they're making up the time, as he's dropped it to half a second in terms of the gap between us. He's going to have DRS to keep that sort of distance. And we are struggling. We go really deep into a corner. The brakes lock up on the front left again. And George Russell takes that position back. And can we get him on the high-speed corners? No, we think better of it. George Russell cuts across us, keeps the position. And this is such a Titanic battle in our first Grand Prix as Cal Racing. And George Russell knows he's under pressure. But the problem is I'm getting too excited. I'm getting too desperate to get 5th position. And I keep making mistakes as we come into this left-hander really tight on the apex. Do a really good job of that corner. And we keep in pace with George Russell. Lap 12. And it's absolutely neck and neck between me and George Russell, which is absolutely crazy. And we brakes and it locks up on his back left there and nearly causes an accident between the two of us. And that means we had to sort of just divert around him, react really quickly. We held it a bit further right than we needed to. It gave Russell the time and space, but we've got such a good exit out of that corner with not much battery left, 20% of battery. We're not going to use it on this time as George Russell really takes the defensive zone, squeezes us out to the left a little bit, hits the apex well, but it's just forced us to take it a little bit more slow, and that is not good English, what I've just said. They're a little bit more slow. But anyway, 8th gear, up we go. We're in the slipstream. We're not going to use the battery. We're going to charge the battery with 2 laps to go. Lap 13 of 14. And here it is, the final lap. We are dumping that battery. We've got DRS open. It's us v George Russell for a Titanic battle of 5th place in the Bahrain Grand Prix. George Russell takes the apex of this final lap. First corner, second corner, he hits it well, but we're just about keeping pace. We're still going to have DRS. It's open. We dump the battery to get as close as we can on this little bit of a straight. Turn the battery off, try and charge it as we get braking on the go. The ERS system is something we invested in during our interview with Will Buxton. We said it's a really good system we've got, and we've got to use it to full effect right now. George Russell keeping that gap as we come to sector 2 on this final lap. We're taking that a little bit wide because we want to get the power down in a straight line as early as possible. George Russell knows he needs a good corner on this hairpin, And we are taking this corner really well, as does Russell though, and both of us get our foot on the power pretty well with the traction out that corner. Dumping the battery again, DRS open, Russell keeping that 0.7 second gap, but again, these fast corners are where we're going to show our worth. Hopefully we have enough about us. Russell is keeping that gap as we come around on the right hand side. We've got this apex, we need to hit this corner really well. Russell slows down, trying to keep his tyres intact, and we get a wonderful exit out of there. We're dumping the battery, we've got past George Russell on the final lap. Can we make this one stick? We just need a good final corner. We're hard on the brakes, we turn in, we hit the apex, probably the best we've done all race on that corner. And 5th place is going to be ours for the Bahrain Grand Prix. And that is a wonderful result in our first race in the Formula 1 2022 game. 5th place, what a battle with George Russell. Absolutely unbelievable that. What a race. I was sweating so much when I was racing in this game. It was incredible. Incredible.
That's a fantastic team effort then to secure victory here in the desert. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team, and they certainly deserve it.
So it's a wonderful victory then for the Mercedes camp. Lewis Hamilton picking up first place. A really good performance from him. Obviously, we had the Titanic battle with his teammate George Russell. Max Verstappen up there as well, and I think it was Charles Leclerc who got the final podium position. But well done to Lewis Hamilton. And, well, he's got his F1 22 career off to a better start than his real-life career, isn't he, in Formula 1 this year. But there you go, 5th place for us, just edging out George Russell. Our best lap of 1:39, so 4 seconds away from the time we set in Q2. But it wasn't to be for Fittipaldi, who really struggled in this race, didn't do brilliantly. Verstappen got driver of the day from 3rd to 2nd. Lewis Hamilton went from 2nd to 1st. A wonderful race. Really enjoyed it, and I'm talking over Crofty here, but that, you know, it's my glory, Crofty. It's my video, not yours. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed it. 10 points in the Constructors' Championship for Cow Racing, and we get our acclaim up as well, which again, crucial to bring in that money for the job. Fittipaldi's going to have half a year to prove himself, and it's going to be interesting. We get more than 1 point in the race, which means our sponsorship pays out as well, which is great. We get the base payout, no deductions for injuries and casualties. Absolutely brilliant. What a race. And as I think we're going to end the episode, we get our blooming development team coming in saying, what do we want to do? Fittipaldi's in great form. We can help them in the simulator. What do we want to do? We bank him for pace and tell him, keep on going, son. You're having amazing pace at the moment. But that will be the end of episode 2. We'll be back in episode 3 for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, which is something I'm a little bit nervous about. It's a course I've never actually driven before because it's new on the circuit this year. We'll have to see how it goes. But thank you so much for watching. For now, I'm out. Cheers.